Okay, this is take two. I'm back making sculpting videos. I made some sculpting videos earlier. I am a little terrified that they were a little bit rambling and not quite focused enough. So in this file, I've tried to go through everything. Oops, that was a loud noise. I've tried to go through it's everything from the basic formulas to how you do this little bit of complexity with monthly models, semi-annual rates, how you do this interest income in sculpting, which is a real pain, how you put fees into the sculpting, how'd you put letter of credit fees into the sculpting, how'd you put taxes in, and finally how'd you make a comprehensive thing with all of these. So I've tried to this time change to make it a little bit cleaner. I've tried to change this and put the formulas on the top. And then, I've put there's this thing called, I just had dinner with Samir yesterday. He's really nice. He said there's this thing called breaking into Wall Street. I think I've heard about that before. What a fantastic name. And you pay like, says you pay a few £100, and then I'm just doing this. You have a blank little sheet, and then you take your cash flow divided by your debt service, multiply it by the true or false, and then you say, okay, well, we have to find out how much our present value of our debt is, which is here. Sorry. So we put that as the closing balance, and we put the opening balance equals the closing balance, and we take the debt service minus the interest, and we get our closing balance. We take the opening balance and multiply it by our interest rate. Oops, I seem to have made a range name there, and then the debt service is these two, and then you go down and you can see, well, did you really compute the DSCR correctly? And the answer is yes, and you better put a if statement and put a, right before, in the if statement, you better put a E26, and then you say, well, what's the cash flow over the life of the loan, and then you can put the NPV at the interest rate of the cash flow over the life of the loan. Oh, I kind of went a little far, but that doesn't matter, and we divide it by the debt balance. And then we just press Shift Control R, and we get our sculpting. Okay, and so these exercises are in the, I've tried to make, what I've done is, when they're fairly simple like this, and that really is not so complicated, I left the true here, I think. You can do this. So then we put the debt together with the LLCR, so we can test our constraint on the debt to capital. If we produce too much debt with the sculpting formula. And then I said, well, what happens if you have many debt issues and you have to one that catches all the rest of the debt issues? That's the debt service on the last and final facility. And then we do the same thing. Okay, you can kind of make a little example. And then this timing whole business, which is a little more difficult. It's a pain to come up with this interest rate that's not the actual interest rate you pay. It's a little bit different. You have to use this formula up here. And then the interest income is the real pain. And that's when I stopped, actually. Now that's interest income. To really do it correctly, you make this interest income function. It looks complicated, but it's not all that bad. It really is not all that bad, because what you have to do, and I'm going to come back and make a separate video for this one, explaining this function. This is the one that scares me more than anything else. If you can do this, you can do just about any of the sculpting. And then I got to the fees, and I realized, oh no, I don't know really how to do fees in sculpting. And it turns out you need to adjust the interest rate and the net present value formula. So I'm going to do that in this video, and then we'll put the letter of credit fees and have another video on the letter of credit fees, another one on taxes, another one on either letter of credit or DSRA funded, another one on fees, taxes, income, IDC, and that's our kind of comprehensive one that has everything in it. Okay, and so I'm trying to finish all this finally. Okay, now to get the fees right, let's just pretend here we have some simple flat fees. They're not a function of the letter of credit or anything like that. So our target debt service is the oops, I was supposed to press F4, not F3. Shift Control R, because I have the generic macros open. Fees are just from above. And then we say, okay, we go through the formula, and you have to kind of go through it here and see that what these formulas do. Okay, we have the debt service coverage ratios. Fees are on the bottom. So what you have to do is take interest plus repayment plus fees. That's all the debt service. That's this. So our repayment has to subtract the fees out. And then the trickiest one is that the debt service, the net present value of the interest, has to subtract out the fees. I can't even really explain that, but it's so simple it works. So then you take this debt service you have, and you subtract both the interest and you subtract the fees. Okay? Shift Control R. It's not correct now because we have to still compute the net present value of the debt service minus the fees. So let's take out the interest, let's take out the fees, and let's take out the repayment. And Shift Control R, let's add up all that. If we wanted to use Alt equal, just go like that. Shift Control R, and then our DSCR is the cash flow divided by this. Oh, that worked, but of course it's not really working because our balance of debt doesn't go to zero. Now if you did here, I'm putting the NPV of the cash flow, oops, oh shit, I didn't say that, equal NPV, I just said shoot. And then we take this and then, okay, we put that in, and that's got a 0 so far. Now, if I just take the debt service like you normally do, okay, and we put that forward, we get 497 of debt, and look, it didn't work. That's our big test. It didn't work. And now if you take this and you just subtract off the fees, then it works magically. So that's our formula. And that's the end of the video. And it's one of my short videos. I wish I could make all my videos this length. 8 minutes, just about right. But I seem to have to ramble on a little more.